What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Explicit Materia, the podcast where a nerdy drummer talks to his friends. Follow me on Twitter at the WiseDrums, Instagram at WiseDrums, Facebook at WiseDrums, or follow the Explicit Materia Facebook page. Oh, and of course, subscribe to youtube.com/WiseDrums, where I post videos of this podcast and stuff like my new drum cover of Hans Zimmer's If You Love These People from the Superman Man of Steel soundtrack. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing that, so check that out when you can. If you're easily offended by any controversial, satirical, or seemingly offensive material, please move on. This podcast is not for you. Any disagreements you might have with the points presented, I'd love to hear what you have to say via Twitter or the YouTube comment section. Today, you'll be experiencing the Wise Factor in all of its glory. That's right, my parental units, the folks, the people who put me into existence are here for this episode, and I know you're excited to hear from them, but for those who aren't familiar with my background, or my family background, let's say, let me just tell you, my father is an Elvis impersonator, or more appropriately, an Elvis Tribute Artist. There is a difference. My mother sang with him, and I'm a result of that get-together, okay? They still do an Elvis show, or the Elvis show. I call it the Elvis show, because it's the best Elvis show that you're going to see ever. They still do it in Las Vegas twice a year. I fly out there to play the show with them. It's seriously the best show that the best Elvis show that you'll see, hands down. And I'm not saying that just because he's my dad. No, he's just really fucking good. Anyway, he's been an Elvis Tribute Artist for over 30 years, way longer than I've been alive. I mean, and you know what? Just listen to the things that my dad's done, okay? This is crazy. He has been on the Guinness Book of World Records for most tributes paid to Elvis Presley. He's been on Oprah, The Dick Clark Show, Mike Douglas, Good Morning America, PM Magazine. He was in Rolling Stone and the National Enquirer. That's insane. Ah, man, I'm just so proud to be his son. That's freaking awesome. And you know, I grew up around music. I grew up on his tour bus. I was babysat by his band a lot of the time. You know, and you know, I've done some pretty cool stuff because of my love for playing music, and I have my parents largely to thank for that. Their support for my goals, however lofty and far-reaching, facilitated some of my bucket list items in regards to my musical achievements. I mean, they truly are an inspiration to me, and I can't be more blessed to have them in my life. I'm just a very blessed individual, and they're still together, and they're still happy, and you don't hear that very often, and they are just amazing people, and I'm so glad they were able to come here, and we were able to have a fun little conversation about how he was able to become an Elvis impersonator. Like, what made someone do that? So, or Elvis Tribute Artist, I should say. Again, there is a difference. Anyway, let's get on with the podcast, and I just hope you guys have a good time with this one. Right on. Well, if anyone was wondering how I became so handsome, it's because of these two lovely individuals.
Yes.
The parentals are on the podcast this time around.
Yes.
And this is awesome because I tell people that my father is an Elvis tribute artist, and people go, "What? That's amazing." You know, and I've never been like made fun of because of it either. It's always been like, "That's so cool."
And that is amazing.
Because you know, when you're a kid and you're going to school and you tell my dad's a plumber or whatever, and like, ew, you know, in the schoolyard brawls, my dad's better than your dad. Well, in my case, my dad was truly better than your dad because my dad is Elvis.
That's right.
So
can't top
Well, there was a couple of go-arounds there for a while when you came up to me when you're about knee-high to a grasshopper and said, "You know, Michael Jackson's better than Elvis," and he'd run.
That was my little kindergarten angst.
Yeah, so it was quite fun growing up, and you know, we're still waiting on the the DNA test, but we're pretty sure
test results.
The test results
to make
test
sure.
results haven't come in yet, you know. But
It's possible. It's possible. I may not be, in fact.
Oh yeah, just
wise.
Take a look at us. Tell me you're not my son.
So I wanted to start this podcast from the beginning. So I tell people that my father is an Elvis tribute artist and has been doing it for longer than I've been alive. And the longer I grow, like the older I get, that becomes a lot longer in time. And I'm like, wow, that's a long time to be an Elvis tribute artist. So let's start from the beginning. So what was it that as a child you were like, okay, Elvis, what was it? What was it about Elvis that made you want to don the suit?
Well, your grandmother actually, my mother got me started on it because, since I was 5 years old, she listened to Elvis, and your grandfather, my dad, was a truck driver, got a lot, and as soon as he got out of the house, boy, the records went on, and the record player was going and was playing Elvis, because my dad, he liked to listen to like Ernest Tubb and the Foggy River Boys and Johnny Cash, of course, and a lot of that. That's what your grandfather played, and he just thought Elvis was just, why are you listening to him? He ain't going to amount to a hill of beans, and I can tell you, though, honestly, years later, he regretted saying that, and he goes, I never thought he'd make it, I just never thought he'd amount to anything, and so that's what I did. I just started listening, and your grandmother got me started on it, and ever since then, I just started doing Elvis, I think I was about 5, So
5.
Listening to everything, it's amazing because, your kids that are your age, they can see Elvis on the Ed Sullivan Show, shaking his hips and the girls going wild at that time, and you can only see it what was recorded. And now I, being that young, got to see it actually live at the time it was on.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy if you really think about it. Yeah.
And of course, it was black and white. We had no color television.
Yeah.
You grew up on the block. If you had a television in your house, you were almost considered rich. I mean, you got a television.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You got a television. Oh my God. Can we come over and watch? That sort of thing. Because a lot of people listening to this podcast, because what we used to call GE Theater. And GE Theater was, you went downtown in front of the General Electric store, they'd have the TVs on, and you sit there and watch. You could watch the boxing matches or anything that was on television that they had at the time, Wow. So that's where it all began, and it began with your grandmother getting, so it's her fault. That's what it is.
It's her fault that you went down this path.
Yeah, went right down, so...
yeah, man, yeah. I did know that about Grandma, and then Grandpa was very. He didn't think. Yeah, you're just like you said. He didn't think that Elvis wasn't going to amount to a whole lot. No. And Elvis back then, when Elvis came on the scene, people were like, oh my gosh, you see him shaking his hip? That's scandalous. That's scandalous. People were protesting out in the streets.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of jealousy, I think, because my parents were still young, and but they, it was kind of an interesting story, about your grandfather. My mom would play Heartbreak Hotel. Well, Heartbreak Hotel came out, and my dad got so mad at your grandmother, he just he took that record off. And back in those days, we had a floor furnace, and that was it. There wasn't any heat, central heating hair or anything stuff. When the wind blew, you could hear it go, through the cracks of the windows and things like that. The walls, were paper thin. There wasn't anything as insulation that much and all that stuff. And but he took that record off, and we had that furnace going full blast. And he took that record off, and I throws it across the living room and lands, perfectly, just like a saucer, and lands right on the furnace, and just melt. Oh, hell's bells! I thought Mom was going to divorce him for sure. And she go back over there and you just try to straighten it out, and flatten it out, try to then put it back on the record player, and you go, But we were crazy about Elvis, I'll tell you, that's for sure. We used to go to bed with 6 or 7 45s on there in the albums and stuff. And, most kids were going to bed by 8 o'clock and that sort of thing. But when Dad was gone, we put on Elvis, and those 6 or 8 33s would play for, I don't know, maybe, 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
We'd be way past midnight, because back then we had 3 television stations, and the television.
Let's pause for a second.
Going
we can
on?
edit this out. Hang on.
Are we having a strobe light?
No, it's the new dimmer switch, because the lights are linked. If these are turned off,
Oh.
hey baby, can you keep this kitchen light on? Because no.
Can you just turn it off? The kitchen light off?
Hang on.
Does it turn this light off?
Wow. I thought
Won't fix
I thought
that.
there was a strobe light going on.
It's not strobing now.
I know. No, I was going.
So is the light on, or when you turn it off, it does that? We'll have to fix that tomorrow.
I'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, it's because the lights are linked together. It's so weird. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
So, but where was I? Let's see.
You listen to music all night long.
Yeah, we listen to music all night long. The albums will go all night long to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
You, Uncle Jim, Uncle Mike, Uncle David.
Yeah, we had it ran through the house, and we didn't have that much. We didn't have that. But if an Elvis album came out, an Elvis record came out, we had it. It didn't make any difference, and I still have them today. It's amazing, I still do.
What was it about Elvis other than any other artist during that time? Like, what was it about Elvis that just everybody just fell in love with?
Well, a lot of it's unique. It's a uniqueness about a person who comes along every once in a great while, that just captures everybody's hearts. That's what separates the greats from the rest of us. There's just something about them that fascinates us, and most of it is called a word that we don't use anymore. We still use it, but we don't use it enough because I think it's just limited to a certain amount of people to come on the earth, because it's called charisma.
Oh no, that's still very valid. Absolutely.
What charisma doesn't just pertain to entertainers; it could pertain to politicians or school teachers or firemen, police officers, whatever. Yeah. And it just comes along. And when Elvis came on you didn't see anybody shaking their legs and getting into the music like he did. He felt it. He had the soul, and to be able to project that on a 45 or on television, was unheard of.
And also, too, during interviews, he was very humble. Humble is the word, and just very country boy, kind of like I can't believe this is really happening.
Yeah,
but I'm just.
Can I answer some of that too? Is that all right?
Yeah, go for it, Mother. I'm going on to you.
I just am saying too, because at that time in music, rock and roll hadn't really taken off yet, and adult people would not listen to rock and roll. They thought it was the devil music and all of that. Mm-hmm. And it was black music. Mm-hmm. And Elvis was singing the same songs. He was singing, all of the songs that were happening, at the time, but he was white. Mm-hmm. And that made it okay for teenagers to listen to rock and roll music. And that had a lot to do with his popularity, because now all of a sudden you've got moms like his mom going, oh my God, that is so cool. Whereas before that wasn't considered, that was just off
taboo,
yes,
right, during that time.
So that had a lot, I think, to do with it too. The timing of when he came up, and the fact that he was just extremely gorgeous.
By the way, my mother actually teaches music history.
I did.
I'm
you
did.
Now.
She did for a while.
She retired last year.
I'm retired.
So
now.
I was going to go to you since we were going to this historical route of Elvis.
It's okay.
And the importance.
I just wanted to throw that in.
Well, that's a good point, because that's the way it is. You walked into church. I wanted to sing in the church choir. And I mean, let me tell you about life. Life throws you curves all the time.
Oh, we're just deep already.
When you're growing up, you just don't know which direction you're going to go to. You don't know where you're going to be. For all I know, I wanted to be a baseball player.
That's right. You did minor league baseball.
Yeah, I wanted to be a ball player, but just wasn't to be. Everything that I did. I mean, I had some really good jobs. I mean, everything I did just kept me going back to music and so forth. But all the way from grade school all the way to high school, everybody called me Elvis, because I had my top button unbuttoned, stuff like that. And I'd sing to the girls, and stuff like that when they asked me to, and they were basically teasing me, but I was taking it serious because I was really into it, and everything, and it was a lot of fun, though. I wanted to be a ball player, and my senior year in high school, I really, really took off and played very well. I was scouted by the Cincinnati and Oakland A's, and Kansas City Royals, or St. Louis Cardinals, and actually got to go play a little bit, and wasn't good enough, and so I came back home. And when I came back home, I didn't know what to do, so I played a little more baseball and stuff, and then came along. College started to come around, and I went to college. I remember all of my 4 weeks of it. It was fun. I just.
You saw me roll my eyes.
But then you went to the Marines.
Yes, after that. Well, to be perfectly honest, I joined the choir in the Missouri Southern College, and I joined the choir, and I was doing. I thought I was doing quite well. I was singing good. And I got called in. This was the killer. I was called in by the choir director, and he sits down and goes, "Well," he says, "I got to tell you, he says, I got to let you go out of the choir." And I go, "Really?" I thought I was doing really well. I had the loudest voice. If I sing loud, everybody else is going to project. And so I thought, this is what I'm thinking. He goes, and he goes, "Well, you sound too much like Elvis, and I can't use you." "Oh, so you're an Elvis hater? That's why." So that's what I was thinking.
But at the church, everyone looked at Elvis like,
you really pissed me off. And actually, that day I quit college. That was
wow.
That was in. And then my cousin and I got together, and we spent about a week, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I said, "What do you want to do?" And he goes, "I don't know. What do you want to do?" It's back and forth, And I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. Why don't we go down and join the Air Force? You always wanted to join the Air Force. Let's go down and join the Air Force. I go down. We go down to down there, and he walks in the Air Force, and the guy says, "Oh yeah, we can use you and all this other stuff. What do you want to be?" "Well, I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to be like a pilot, please. Fly one of those airplanes up there and one of those jets and thing." And I thought, well, shoot, this would be pretty simple. I can do this. I'm pretty mechanical. I can do this. And my cousin said, "Well, I'll do anything." So he said, "Well, you got to go in and take this test." And so I went in to take this test, and the guy comes in, he lays the test down, and I open it up, and I go, "Okay, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me." And so I went out. My cousin's going, "Well, I'm in. I'm going to Fort Hood or somewhere. And I said, "Well, congratulations." "Well, they didn't take me because I can't fly jets. They're not going to let me get up there.
Turns out I don't know how to work the machinery that's necessary.
I couldn't figure out this knob because I don't know. Anyway, and so so I'm sitting there going, "Well, what am I going to do?" And so this Marine recruiter comes over and he says, "Oh, you want to join the service, huh?" And I go, "Yeah." And he says, "We got some fine Quonset huts out there or fine condos, first of all. He says, "I got some fine condos out there in Hollywood, and out there in San Diego." So I joined that day I joined the Marines, and when I finally got out there and got my records and all that, what I was going to be, I found out that truly the condos were actually Quonset nuts. They really were. And at that time, there was a record came out, It Never Rains in Southern California. Well, that's a bunch of BS because it rained all the time while I was there. I mean, we didn't even go on maneuvers half the time because it rained so hard. But it was just kind of one of those crazy years, But that's what I did. I went in the Marine Corps. And then when I got out in 1974, I got out and figure out what we were doing. Well, your uncle, my brother, had a little duo, and then I started getting involved with that, and that's how we actually got the music business started. I was their agent.
Oh wow!
I was the agent.
Uncle Jim and Jerry.
Jim and Jerry.
I
wow.
was the agent. So
Jerry Grothendieck.
Jerry Grothendieck. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a family friend. Guys, I cannot make this stuff up. His name is Jerry Grothendieck.
Amen.
Well, we used to call him Wharton Picker, but that's besides the point. But we had a lot of pet names for each other. I mean, there's a lot of them.
Oh God, that is an unfortunate last name.
Sweetheart, just one of those things. He
ended up playing bass for us for years.
Yes, I remember.
And he was actually the best man in our wedding, also.
Yes.
But your dad made up names all the time, so he made it. Whenever he'd introduce him, he'd say, "This is C.J. Lomax." And people still call him that to this day.
I'm the only one that calls him Jerry.
We are the only people that call him Jerry. He's
C.J. Lomax.
C.J. Lomax.
He made him C.J. Lomax from Jerry Grothendieck. Anyway,
so
we digress.
Yeah, we and him, and then he had it was just two guitars, and they were doing a lot of Jim Croce stuff, and which was really popular at the time, and stuff. And I'd book them. I think the very first booking I got was at a little place called Steer and Stein in Springfield, Missouri. And
that's the spot right there. That's where all the kids are going.
These guys are eating, steaks, and we're playing, stuff like,
Time in a bottle.
Time in a bottle, and it's like up, down, God is hustler, But and they were making. I booked them in there. I took 10%, and they got $75 for the weekend. So it was $150. I got 10% of that, so I got $15 for the weekend. And you got to put everything in perspective, because back in then, gasoline was still roughly about
30 cents a gallon.
29 cents a gallon. So you could go a long way. And Springfield from Joplin was only 60 miles. So, and that's how it all got started. That's exactly how the whole thing got started. I booked them, and I booked them from there. I booked them in Holiday Inns, and we added a keyboard player and a drummer, and then we started doing skits. Now, skits and shows like
comedy duo stuff.
Yeah, so comedy stuff like Guitarzan. For instance, remember? I don't know. You probably don't remember this. Ray Stevens. He had the song "The Streak." Oh yes, they call him a streak. Or Guitarzan. Well, anyway. We were show. Everybody was show back in those days. We had, any place you went, they had some sort of show, and we did a show. Now you got a picture, your Uncle Jim, 6'5", in a Tarzan with his little thing. Not his little thing, but his little mock or whatever they called it.
Jim never sees this.
His little figure, whatever the hell he wore. So.
I never knew this. Wow.
And we had a guy dressed in an ape suit, and then we had Jane and everything else like that, and we up there go all this, and we're playing in a country damn dive band, show, these old boys are looking at us, but they, and the places were packed every night. We played 6 nights a week, and it was packed all the time, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Whatever time they closed, they were packed, and it was just so much fun. Looking back on it, but it was a lot of it. So we booked them a Holiday Inn. So it was Jerry, and it was your Uncle Jim, and it was me in one room. And so they got a bed, and Jerry got a bed, and Jim got a bed, and I got 2 chairs put together, and that's where I slept. So
at what point during this time And this because you're out doing stuff with Uncle Jim and Jerry. At what point did you say, all right, I want to be an Elvis tribute artist. This is what I want to do.
Well, I always wanted to do it. I always wanted to be Elvis. I wanted, everybody wants to be Elvis at some point. Really. It's like, but it's so cool because, how it really happened is that we were doing the skits and stuff like that. So we thought, that we were doing. Then we went into the '50s routine and the '60s and things like that. So what we did is we decided that we would put Elvis in there, and I had maybe 3 songs at the most, 3 songs, because you had to move along. It was this one and that one, and then it was Elvis. And then I would come out and I'd do the Elvis thing, but I didn't have a suit. I didn't have a suit. So I had some lady, I think it was in Chickasha, Oklahoma, that. I found a seamstress, on some hilltop somewhere along the line, Chickasha, Oklahoma, and I said, you think you can make me a jumpsuit? And she goes, well, yeah, I can make you a jumpsuit, and she come in and take measurements, all this other stuff, like that, and it was just plain, She brought that suit, and I had to do a show that night, so we didn't have any time she made it too big. She really made it too big, and so what I had to do is I had to take the jumps. I had to wear a pair of blue jeans underneath it to fill it out, stuff like that. And so I did about 2 to 3 songs, and the people loved it. They just, they loved it, and so we kept it, and we started adding another song and another song in there, and that's what we did. We traveled in Chickasha, Oklahoma. We went to Oklahoma City, went to Tulsa, we went all the way through. And back in those days, you could go from one Holiday Inn to Ramada Inn to a showroom somewhere along the line that had show bands. They all had show bands. It was a great time for musicians and entertainers and things of that nature. It was a wonderful time. It was a lot of work. The road is not for everybody.
Yeah,
it's a lot of hassles. There's a lot of heartache, but there's a lot of joy and a lot of great things that come out of it. And the thing that really got us was that we got to go back to several of these places. And so then I started having people make me scarves, and I started giving the scarves out to. We're in Shawnee, Oklahoma. We're playing this club, and comes time for Love Me Tender, I'm passing out scarves, and so I go to give this a lady a scarf, and our boyfriend in front of you went and put his foot on my hand. I was pissed. So I said, I get out, we get through the show, and afterwards, I go, I'm going to kick that son of a bitch's ass. I'm going to kick it. And calm down. This is not the place to do it. Don't pollute, and everything else like this. Not the place. We'll get him later. So anyway, they had a big bouncer. This guy was huge bouncer, and so I said, he said, don't do it. He says, so I got calmed down, and after the show, I went to the bar. And then this guy comes over, and he says something to me, and I just went off, and I went like this. I swung my hand back, and I went, boo, like that, and everything now is on. It's on. It's a ruckus, And so everything's all cleared and everything, and the cops came and arrested the guy, and all this other stuff.
They arrested the guy?
They arrested the guy.
Wow.
Bouncer comes over to me, and he's got this dadgum welt on his face like that, and I said, boy, I'm sorry about that. He says, don't worry. He says, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at that son of a bitch that hit me in the eye. And I thought, oh crap, when he was right behind me when I went like this. I go, yeah, me too. I'd be really mad. Jim says, you're the one that hit him in the eye, you dumb bastard. So,
it was that pitcher's wind-up.
Yeah. Those are just kind of stories that but they're true stories, and there are a lot of fun stories like that on the road, which, as you well know, got to go on the road a little bit. You got some fun stories.
I did. I do.
And and you meet a lot.
Very
of,
little of which I can remember, actually. Because, nowadays it's not that exciting.
No.
It's not. Because there's a lot more, I don't know, there's a lot more pressure on the artist now. There's a lot more seriousness.
Yeah.
It's because it's not as free as it once
because
was.
you didn't really do the road like we did the road. When you actually went on...
Well, you guys didn't really have... When you guys went on the road, and I guess this is what I was...
We're trying to get there.
We're trying to get there.
Yeah, we're trying to get there.
When you guys were on the road, you guys didn't have to answer to anybody. You guys were your own managers.
We were.
You guys were in charge of the whole...
Oh, we had managers.
But we also did all the work.
You guys did have managers? You guys weren't your own thing?
We had booking agents
we had agents.
And agents, but you didn't have a manager on the road with you that said,
we did not.
you guys can't do this, or you guys shouldn't be doing this, or you guys need to talk to the label, and you guys,
No, but we also had to do all the work.
Right.
We had to
pay for everything. Mm-hmm. Well, you had roadies, you had people that, you know, that's a totally different thing than when we were playing in, dive bars and stuff. You were playing for large crowds, and that was that's a different thing.
Right.
So there was more pressure on you.
No,
so you didn't get to
play
have
for
as
large
much
crowds. I mean, we played to
I didn't mean it
we
that
got to
way.
play to 50 or 60 people at one time.
There were some crowded rooms in that Put in Bay giant hall.
Yeah, there were 3,000
Beer Barrel
people,
Saloon.
Man.
I was there.
3,000 people there.
Let's
let's go back.
Let's kind of fast forward a little bit.
How did you? All right, can I ask?
Go for it.
Let me just.
You know how to handle your husband.
Yeah, because he'll talk for hours and you'll never get to the point that you want. Okay.
So I have a way to go around the point.
Okay. How did you actually start doing the Elvis, where you're actually doing the shows with the real costumes and the bands and all of that?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question.
I was also trying to get to how you met Mom, too.
Oh,
well, that comes later.
Also.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a lot of things come up before I mention Mom.
How many days do you have to do this?
I mean, I can tell you things.
We have very little time to get a lot done.
Okay.
Right.
So anyway, but basically what it was is that they decided eventually, fast forward a little bit, Jim went his way and then Jerry went his way and so forth and so on. Well, one day they got a phone call and they said that we're going to go to California because they want to put a group together and take it to Hawaii, and the guy is looking for an Elvis show to do that, and so Jim and I and Jerry went to California and we met this guy out there, and so we got to talking this, that, and other thing, and he says, we're not, Jim, I don't think was interested in doing that at the time or whatever, and I said, well, I'll go over, and do this, and he said, well, can you put a group together? I have a group, I want you to meet them and so forth. So I did. I went to, I was in California, I went to see these guys, and we sat down at the kitchen table, and they said, we want you to be our manager. And I go, well, I don't have any really managing experience, but I got road experience and things like that. And we got to talking. Good. So this guy put this group together to go to Hawaii. And we went over there to the Waikiki Resort Hotel, which is still there today. Mm-hmm. And we put a show together on the second floor. And we put this little, they did songs, they were more of a rock band kind of thing. But they did a great thing putting the Elvis show together for me, and so I had a couple suits made and stuff like that, and we went over there and we started doing the show on the second floor, and they'd bring in tour buses, and stuff, and we go to get our paycheck. Well, the guy says, "Well, check's coming from Japan. It'll be here, okay." After about 2 or 3 weeks of this,
check's coming from Japan.
Yeah.
On a slow boat.
On a slow boat.
Apparently. With a lot of rocks on it.
But you know what? It was a great experience. It was a great experience. I had a lot of fun doing it. And so when we didn't get paid, we closed the show down. And so I went to the general manager. His name was Ira. I went to Ira and said, I really don't want to go back to, Joplin and doing all this stuff. And he goes, you want to stay here? And I said, yeah, I want to stay here. He says, well, I can tell you what, I can use a manager for the second floor. We'll keep it open as a restaurant for a few weeks and see how it goes. I said, okay. We met him. So we opened it up as a restaurant, and I managed it, and I got to meet a lot of people from Japan and China and everywhere.
Is that where you met Charlie?
And that's where, where I met Charlie. Where Charlie comes in the picture here in a minute is that, so got up there to the wire, and these two big old Samoan boys come in there and go, got a nice place here. Yeah, I do. He goes, yeah, that's going to cost you $100 a week. I said, $100 a week for what? Protection. So I said, protection. He says, yeah, we're going to keep it clean in here. We're not going to let anybody fight or anything, but it's going to cost you $100 a week. Well, I ended up having to pay him $100 a week. So I did. I never had a bit of problem.
And it was worth every penny. That's right.
And it was a lot of fun. We did that for about a couple of months, but it never made it. It never took off, As always, it always comes down to advertising and getting the word of mouth out. And so, but anyway, I went to Ira and I said, well, we're going to, so I guess I'll go back to job. He says, I got a place that'll hire you if you want to stay here. I said, okay. Where? And he goes, go down here to Surgical International. And I went down to, and it was a place to sell cars. So I became a car salesman.
In Hawaii?
In Hawaii. In Waikiki. In Hawaii.
With Charlie.
With Charlie. That's where I met Charlie.
It's so funny. I know you've told me this story before, and then I just
yeah.
Well, there's so much to talk about. There are a lot of things I skipped over. But I've got a book, we're doing. I put a lot of it in the book. My dad, your grandfather, put a lot in this book that we're doing, and just telling all these stories, how it all come about. But that's how I met Charlie. And Charlie says, he goes, yeah, he says, we're not going to be doing much here. And he goes, follow me. And so at that time, they gave us new cars, the demos. So we drove up to a bar called the Hong Kong Restaurant up there. And we went up there, and I don't think I ever left that bar. I sold more cars out of that bar than, we did. We'd sit there, we'll wait till guys come in. We play the jukebox. Some guy come in. Hey, where are you from? Well, I'm down here, such and such. I'm Kaimaki or whatever and all that other stuff. What do you do? Well, I sell cars and for Surgical International, Toyotas, things like that. And he goes, my niece is looking for a car. Well, let me just tell you, here's my card, and let me tell you, I got an SR5 out here. Man, I'll tell you what, that sucker's burnt orange, and it's beautiful. Let me buy you a drink. Here, let me buy you a drink. That's how I bought most of your mom's jewelry. Too much Heineken's in jewelry stores. But
so eventually he became an Elvis impersonator. I'm trying to move along here. I'm trying to help you out here, Shane. So
there is a difference between Elvis Impersonator and Elvis Tribute Artist.
You're being very good. I'm being lazy with my terminology.
I say that to people. They go, "What's the difference?"
You're right.
And I tell them, "Well, Elvis Impersonator is the dude that you see in L.A. That's like going that very caricature kind of
exactly.
kind of thing about Elvis." And then Elvis Tribute Artist actually takes it seriously and actually performs and sings the songs and has a show and actually pays tribute to the artist. Same thing goes with Michael Jackson Tribute Artist, any sort of tribute artist, Journey Tribute Artist.
Yes.
So do you want to get to the heart of the question, son?
Well, I've been trying to, but apparently you being a car salesman is way more important
than our life on the road.
Life on the road.
You'd be surprised how many Toyotas you can sell in an Elvis jumpsuit. Till the police pull you over. But the reason that you'll find out, most of your viewers are going to find out that how this all got to be, and this is, I was in Hawaii one day. Your Uncle Jim calls me out of the blue. I was sleeping, and I was dreaming that this guy's on stage, and he's got a bunch of people screaming and all this other stuff. And I've had this dream several times, and I'd get right up to the stage to see who was singing, and then I'd wake up just like that. And then one day, I had that same dream, and it was in the afternoon, and I was taking a nap, and got the same thing. The same dream came along, and looked at the stage, and finally found out it was me. And all of a sudden, the phone rings, and I pick it up. It's your Uncle Jim. He's in Little Rock, Arkansas. Yeah, Dennis, what are you doing? Oh, not much, man. What's going on? Well, look, this guy down here needs an Elvis guy, and you're the best Elvis guy I know. So he said he'll fly you to Little Rock, Arkansas, and fly you back. All he wants you to do is come down and audition. Okay? And I said, no, it was kind of scary because my brother, your uncle's in a band called the Flim Flam Band. So, I'm a little leery right at the beginning, you know what I mean? So, and
it just keeps getting better.
Oh, it's not. I can tell stories forever. But anyway, I said, yeah, I'll come down. And so I went down there, and it was just a bar, but they had dancing in the bands and stuff like that. And we went in the afternoon, and he says, well, what do you want to do? And I go, I don't know. What do you want to do? And I said, why don't we do, something like, I've been traveling over mountains, even through the valleys too. And he goes, that's enough. I thought, well, hell, I'm back on to Hawaii. I got to play a little pool, see the guys, And he goes, I'll take him. And I never went back. And that's how we put the band together, and I started playing with them, and that's how I became the Elvis. That was in 1974, 75,
And then Elvis died in 74, right?
77. I'm sorry.
77.
77, yeah, 78.
So you're doing the Elvis tribute band while Elvis is still alive.
Well, I was. Yes, I was. But you guys don't want to hear about that part because that takes too long. But those are things in between.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
I know you're going to.
I always get Bruce Lee and Elvis mixed up in their death because Bruce Lee died in 73 and then Elvis died in 77.
77, and that's when I started, and then 78 is when I really took off and started doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
First, I'll give you an example. You probably don't know this, but the first gig that I had, I played at a place called the Rendezvous Club in Florida, and I had made $25,000 for 4 days.
$25,000?
$25,000 for 4 days.
In 70...
No, this was in 78.
78. So in 78... $25,000 would be like
a lot of money.
$40,000 at least.
Yes, because Elvis had just died, and 35? People were craving to see him.
Now, you want to talk about the road, and some of these people probably know this already, but talk about the road. I made $25,000 and went to get paid, and the road manager at the time, he said, well, we're going to the next gig, and after that, he's going to send me the check, and we're going to get paid. Okay, so the next gig I go for 3 days, and I make $15,000. So I go there, and we went to go get paid, and the guy says, well, we haven't got the check yet, So they're now $40,000.
It's coming from Japan. Apparently.
Yeah, it's coming from Japan. Yeah.
They're still waiting for that boat from Japan.
Now you all know where this is going because because if your musician's had any kind of success or any whatever, it's just that you're getting screwed.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting at his house on the porch waiting for him to come back because I'm going to confront him. I'm going to say, where's my money? And he comes up. He's comes driving up in a brand new Burt Reynolds Trans Am. And then his wife right behind him comes up and driving a brand new Cougar, And I looked and I went, there's where my money is right there.
Yeah.
And I knew I was screwed from then on. And then I just broke ties with him. And your uncle, your grandpa and your mom, my mom came down, your grandmother came down and picked me up, and we went back to Joplin to regroup. Yeah. So I got screwed many times on the road. You're going to get it. It doesn't matter if you're starting out. You're going on the road. Well,
you don't know anything about contracts or anything like that. You just think like word. My word is my bond. In that time too, it's it's just like you just trusted another person's handshake. You're like, okay, we're gonna make this deal. I'm going to do this for you, and you're going to give me some money after it, right?
Right.
Yeah. But you're getting back to Put in Bay where we played with our Tip, and he owned the place and everything. The first year, I had a contract with him, and for 17 years more, we had a handshake. So, and we booked like almost a year out from the summer to the next summer. We already knew our dates when we were coming back. That's almost a year later. So anything can happen. He could have called me up and said, you know what? Or I could have called him up and said, I'm not going to play it because I got a better gig for more money or whatever, So, it was a handshake and we went.
And which is very not typical, but Tip.
By the way, Put in Bay is in Ohio.
Oh yeah,
it's a party island in Ohio that's been around for God knows how long. At least since I've been alive.
It's in Lake Erie, and they call it the Key West of the North.
The Key West of the North.
They do, because it's just a bar after bar after bar after bar, and you can only get there by boat, or ferry. So yeah, but Tip, we never ever asked for a raise, and he gave us a raise all the time. He'd just give us a raise. Yeah.
Well, you guys brought in a lot of people.
Yeah.
You guys made them some money.
Yeah. But
I was there.
But that's so not business. I mean, most places are just horrible to you. You know, they treat you, well, you know, you can't do this. He was just the best guy ever.
All right, so I'm going to fast forward again. So you're regrouping in Joplin. Let's say you're back out in the road. You're doing the Elvis thing. You made a band. How did you meet my mother?
Well, it's a very interesting story. We're playing the Old Sawmill Lounge in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I had, at that time, I had quite a big band. We had two girl singers, just one girl singer. I had two girl singers.
You had Dave.
Well, he was like a girl.
You used to have two girl singers, okay. But when I replaced that Dave guy.
Oh, yeah. See, he was a good singer too. But
yeah, he was good.
But what we did is the boys had to go into town, into Charlotte, North Carolina, to get strings and music and stuff. You know, because there wasn't any music stores in Fayetteville, and so we needed a singer replacement, and they went down there to put an ad in the paper or on the board. You know, they have a board, and they asked the guy that was one of the music guys down there, and actually she was kind of like a mail order bride. You know,
oh Jesus!
We just answered our ad. You just go, well, no.
Oh, okay.
No. Actually, she came down to audition for us, and she was a school teacher at the time. She had a very good job. I don't know why in the heck she wanted to go with the rock and roll band.
So, Mother, were you singing at that time?
Yes, I was. Thank you for asking, dear. Yes, I've been singing since, well, I was 5 years old. So, and professionally since I was 18. So I put myself through college singing. And I was teaching in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was singing on the weekends.
And you actually graduated.
I actually had, a teaching degree. Yeah, isn't that amazing? I actually
you can get one of those certificates. At the flea market.
Talents and smarts.
I didn't get it at the flea market either. I actually worked for it.
In math, too. By the way, in math.
Math, yes, I taught math.
Who researches math? Come on.
Oh, math is wonderful. Math and music are like this. Anyway, so long story short, I'll try to make this short. I was going He'll make this go forever. All right, so anyway. They called, actually it was Jerry Grothendieck.
Jerry Grothendieck? Okay.
Jerry called the music store and asked if there were any singers, and this guy knew me and had seen me, and and so he gave them my number, and Jerry called me and asked me to go down and audition, which I did, and then they hired me. And so I went back, and I was in the middle of teaching junior high math.
Excuse me to interrupt, but did you have your own band called Enterprise?
That was with
okay.
Dad, yeah.
I just remembered that wrong.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But yeah.
So that's how you guys, so when he hired you, you were the opening act to...
I just would sing with his band. Yes, I was. So when we got on the road, when they finally hired me and we got on the road, what would happen is the band that backed him up for the Elvis show, because we did 2 Elvis shows a night, but the band played at least 3 sets. Okay, so I was the lead singer for the 3 sets, and then I sang backup for his shows.
Yep.
So that's how that whole thing happened. Yep. And then we got a. I'm going to make this really fast. I'll zip forward to you. So then we got a Greyhound bus, and we gutted it and made it into the bus that you remember so well as a child.
Yes.
And we traveled 46 weeks out of the year. So
46 weeks out of the year.
Yeah, and there's only 52. Okay, so
we didn't have a house.
I'm doing the math for you.
Yeah, we didn't have a house.
Shane. We didn't. When
you grew up with that bus. Basically, you learned to ride a bicycle at a Holiday Inn hallway.
I remember that. So, wow. Yeah. Yes, I did.
These are the fun stories we need to talk about.
That was with the trikes. I actually learned how to ride a bike in Las Vegas. I remember that vividly. Yeah. I do remember actually taking the training wheels off.
You were 5.
Yeah. Was I 5?
You were 5 years old when you moved to Vegas. Yes.
I remember that vividly. Yeah. Just having the adrenaline of actually being able to balance on a bicycle. That was crazy.
That's nothing like your first time.
Yeah, it was great. I always remember that.
So what happens when you fall off a bike?
Oh, well.
You get back up and ride again.
Get back up and ride again.
That's what you do.
Just like a horse. Okay, so
All right,
let's
so
digress again.
So we had the bus, and we
had the bus,
and then we got married. We
you guys
for
got
a
married,
year,
dated for a year.
Then we got married, and we still don't know why Uncle Jim wasn't at our wedding.
He was probably in Japan.
He was on that boat with the checks.
Yeah, I don't know. Still can't figure it out. I called you. We couldn't figure out the song I sang to at the wedding. This is the strangest thing. So we sang song.
We sang to each other during our wedding.
So I called your grandmother. I said, Mom, do you remember the song that I sang to Marcia and at our wedding? And she goes, yeah. It was Bridge Over Troubled Water.
So we asked like everybody we could think of, and everyone said a different song. So we really don't
Suspicious
remember.
Minds, Burning Love, It was like,
we don't remember because, as you know, it was kind of a stressful time, so we don't remember.
I had television
We
cameras.
have no idea. And we didn't have video back then. We didn't. So we don't know.
Yep, that's basically how it happened.
Can I tell you? Oh.
Okay, yeah, all right. So I'm going to...
Okay, I'm sorry.
This is you say I wasn't a mistake, or it wasn't a mistake, but an accident.
You were not an accident.
No, I wasn't an accident.
You were not an accident.
All right, if that is the case, what the hell were you both thinking, being a traveling band, and be like, this is a great time to have children?
No. See, I'm glad that you're asking these questions.
These are important questions.
Because you are
inquiring minds want to know.
Okay, let me tell you. All right, we had been on the Dennis. Your father and I have been married for 4 years. Okay, and we've been on the road, and we went to Memphis.
Yep.
And there was a 7-Eleven directly across the street from Graceland that was for sale. And I had this brilliant idea. Let's buy this 7-Eleven and turn it into a nightclub. We're right across from Graceland. We'll do an Elvis show. This is a gold mine, right? So we did. So we decided to move to Memphis, and we bought a house. And the whole band moved there. Everybody moved to Memphis. And we built this bar. And we thought, okay, this is great. Well, then Graceland buys the entire shopping center that our place is in and forbids us to do an Elvis show.
Oh.
Well, they couldn't really do that, but they wouldn't let us advertise.
They wouldn't let us advertise, and they also deterred the people from coming that way. But,
anyway.
That was a different story. You don't have time for all that.
I'm not. I'm just going to tell you.
But I did have, we did have our own, but getting back to your original question is that, because I remember that night when you said, well, I think it just happened, and it was kind of storming that night and raining and lightning everywhere. It was like,
No.
I was completely different in mine because I thought it was going to be like, like fireworks and all that crap. But no. It was,
would you just be quiet? So anyway, what happened was, so we were in Memphis, and we had this nightclub. We had a home. We were settled. We thought, okay, this is it. So we decided this would be a perfect time to have a child. Okay.
Now it's starting to become clearer now.
Now.
You guys have this business plan laid out.
We had it all laid out. Okay.
Is there a pun there?
I was 33 years old at the time. Okay. And my doctor said that it would probably take me 2 or 3 years to get pregnant. So we're fine. So he buys me, we leased.
Mm-hmm.
A Fiero. Remember, you know what a Fiero is? It's a sports car. They don't make them
Pontiac
anymore.
Fiero.
Yes.
2-seater.
Like 2 little seater, right? So I get this Fiero for my birthday, whatever. Anyway, in like 3 months, I'm pregnant. And now I've got this sports car that
you ended up probably having to sell.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'll try to make this really fast. But we ended up having to go back on the road because we weren't making it at the place because they wouldn't let us advertise.
That's so crazy how they wouldn't let you advertise.
No, because they wanted us to get out of there so that they could put their own shows in there and make the money themselves.
Okay, well, yeah, then they should have bought you out is what they should have done.
Yeah, well, they were just figuring that they could screw it.
It was
So they did.
It was an interesting time, you know. It really was. I mean, I got to know all the family, and
Oh yeah, he had a blast.
you know,
Yeah, I'm sure
they
he
would
did.
come over and we talk.
Speaking of Graceland, actually, I'm going to jump forward a little
Okay.
bit, or
Yeah. Or
in
behind,
this,
or wherever we
behind.
are.
We're way past
We're way
timelines
past
at this
everything,
point.
yeah.
Tell me the story. How many times have you been to Graceland, both of you?
Oh, we lived
lived
right
there,
behind
behind
it.
us.
Like how many times? Like how many times did you
Oh,
go
man,
over
so-
there?
Oh, actually go through the tour?
Like to the tour and
Oh.
like all that stuff.
No, I've only been through once.
No, you went with us too.
Yeah,
Just twice.
yeah.
Twice. Yeah.
Oh, what about that? What about the time about the horse?
Oh, that was
Tell
the
me.
first time.
Tell me the story.
You want me to tell it?
Tell the
Thinking
well,
faster.
whoever can
Elvis
tell
had
the story.
a horse named Rising Sun, which was one of his favorite horses, you know.
This is in Graceland, by
That's
the
in
way.
Graceland.
In Graceland.
But you know, Elvis had already been. I don't know what we went that last tour and that we did some years back, and one of the things that they take you back and they show you the horse where he kept his horses, and they say, you know, whatever you do, don't pet the horses, you know, because they might bite.
Is this after Elvis?
Elvis died.
This is
Oh,
right
yeah.
after
Yes.
Elvis
And this
had
is
died.
this is when they first opened Graceland up for tours. We were there like the first month or so when they first opened it up.
Yeah.
So
Because your Uncle Mike was dating a girl named Skippy, who was one of the tour guides there. That's how we got in.
Oh,
see that.
good job, Skippy.
But yeah, we
they lived with us. Worry
we
not. Sorry, there's a lot more to go there. But we'll just let that go.
But they said, don't touch a horse, and you know that's Rising Sun over there. And so I was just standing by the fence, you know, and that horse came all the way over, and you know started putting his head and started, you know, and I started petting it, and they came running over, you know, and so don't pet the, you know, but. You know, the only thing I could think of is the horse thought I was actually Elvis. You know,
Yeah.
that was standing there.
It was. I mean,
they never seen anything.
so
like
so people are like, don't touch the horses. The horses will bite you. They don't like anyone
no,
but
Rising
Elvis.
Sun.
Because
Because
Rising
that
Sun.
was Elvis's horse, and it was out in the pasture, way out. And they said, if the horse comes over here, stay away from it. You know. And then it came directly. I mean, it wasn't. It came
Yeah.
directly to him, nuzzled under his, and. We were not the only people. I mean, I had goosebumps all over me, and everybody else is going, "Whoa!" That
was kind of freaking out.
scary. Yeah, freaking out.
By the and my dad is also the beast master somehow or another.
Oh yeah.
Every sort of animal. Wasn't there a time where an eagle landed on
He's
you
an
or something?
animal whisperer. I
whisperer.
swear.
It's like you guys were in Hawaii and
Oh yeah, a bird just came out of the sky and landed on his finger. Yeah, wasn't it? It was just a bird, and it was the day Michael Jackson died.
the day that Michael
Oh,
Jackson
was it
died.
really?
Yeah.
Huh?
We were at the Big Island in Hawaii.
So we thought it was
Yeah.
Michael Jackson's spirit coming down into his finger. I
Yeah,
don't know. Anyway,
really.
It was weird. I know.
So-
So we're trying to keep everything in order.
Oh wow.
So
So
I-
okay. So where were we?
I
You
want to
guys.
talk about you being
I-
born.
Okay. So you're
were-
pregnant.
Yes, I was.
You're pregnant. You're in
Very
Memphis.
pregnant. And,
And
then,
then-
we had to go back out on the road.
And you,
So now I'm a pregnant lady going back on the road in the bus and performing with
Yeah.
my,
this
whatever.
was very, very important
Okay, what?
because you were actually projected to be born on January 8th,
8th.
which was Elvis's birthday. So-
Which is pretty insane considering just if you really think about it, I don't know if the doctor was just messing with you. It's like, it's January 7th. I know he's an Elvis impersonator, so maybe
'cause you
I'll
weren't
just say
even with
January
me.
8th.
I don't think you were. He wasn't. They didn't know.
They had no idea.
No, he wasn't even with me. I went for my, ultrasound stuff. He was busy doing something. I don't know. I went.
So when they told you, you we're projecting the child to be born around January 8th, did you not just
I freaked
go,
out.
are you fucking kidding
Yes,
me?
I did not say those exact words, but I was thinking that. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
they didn't have any idea.
unfortunately, you came a few days earlier, right after
Yes.
Christmas.
December 29th, right between New Year's and Christmas.
Yes.
That
You
day,
did.
your mother and I decided to go to Disney World, and she walked all over the place, and that brought you a little earlier, though, because we were down at Lakeland, Florida, playing, and
Yes, because I sang 6
if
hours
we could have
a
lasted,
night.
if we could have
Every
lasted a
night.
few more nights, we could have went back to Memphis, and you would have probably been born in Memphis.
Oh,
A few more nights. Only 8 more nights.
Yeah.
okay.
Well, because we were playing the first week in January.
I
That's
want the
right.
women of the world to hear this one because they're going to love this. Okay. We were, like I said, I had to go back singing. I performed every minute that I was pregnant with him, I was on stage. So that's why he's such a good drummer, because I was always standing in front of the drums, and he started kicking me immediately. His whole life he's been drumming. And we went to, what was that horrible bar in was it Arkansas?
It was a Ramada Inn, and I think it's Bartlett's, Arkansas. It's
Whatever
right
it
over
was.
there,
Anyway,
not too far from Memphis.
We'd played there many times before, but now I'm 8 months pregnant, and we go there, and I'm singing, like a virgin, whatever. It's the 80s. I'm singing the stuff. And the guy fires us at the end of the night because I was pregnant. He said it was disgusting. It was disgusting to see a pregnant woman on stage dance, because I danced. Can you imagine? They fired me.
It wouldn't go
I cried
today.
and cried and cried. Well, anyway, so we went to Lakeland, Florida, and we went back twice. I made the trip twice.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you were born a little bit early. But the kicker is that when they did the ultrasound of you, they told me that you were a girl. That's where
let it be known that the ultrasound wasn't very accurate back in the day,
it's when
that is not a slight to my.
No,
to
exactly. No, it's no slight to your manhood. No. But
that is a funny story. I tell that to people all the time. It's like, they thought I was going to be a girl.
They make mistakes,
And I told them I didn't even want to know.
What were you going to call me?
Alicia.
God, I always forget that name. I always say like Anastasia.
No, Alicia. You were going to be Alicia, and I was going to call you Allie. Allie Wise. Wow. Isn't that cute?
I'm the one who picked out your name, really, to be honest with you. She said, well, you get to pick out a name if it's a girl, and I'll pick out a name as a boy.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
So Dad had the last laugh.
Needless to say, I was...
And sure enough, I tell people I was named after that cowboy movie.
Yep.
Now, I would like to say
Shane.
that his nursery was all pink because I thought I was having a girl. So that is why he is a very sensitive and wonderful man, because he has learned to be in touch with his feminine side.
So
we've
pretty much got it down. That was pretty much, Dad's start, meeting you, me being born, and then you guys moved to Las Vegas from Memphis because you guys are touring a lot. You're doing the whole thing. You guys are still living in Memphis. You then say, let's move to Las Vegas. We have to move to Las Vegas. That's where Elvis is. That's where the whole soul of Elvis is. It's Viva Las Vegas. You can't think of Las Vegas without thinking about Elvis. So what prompted the move to Las Vegas?
You.
It was me, because I had to go to school somewhere.
You had to go to school.
And you wanted to, sports were a big part of your life.
You had to go to school, and we were playing in Vegas about 30 weeks out of the year.
Anyway.
And we thought, you know what? Let's just live here, and then we'll just travel out, in the summers, so you could go to school.
Right.
So that's why
when school got out, that's when we took off.
That's why we picked Vegas, so you could go to school and have a somewhat normal life.
And then in my early childhood, you would get with my teachers for the lesson plan if I were to... If you guys had to go out before summer actually started.
Because for kindergarten, first grade,
and second grade too.
you went to Montessori.
Right, Montessori
and
schools.
I did, because I was a school teacher, so they let me have the lesson plans, and then I would homeschool you when we were on the road. So we stayed on the road, but we spent at least 30 weeks of the year in Vegas, and then the rest of the time we were on the road. And
which, by the way, you can only pull that off with private schools.
Exactly.
There's no way you could have done that with public schools.
No.
Well, you could actually
because I think about that. I think about that. I was like, how the hell did they pull that off? And I go, oh yeah, it was Montessori private schools that they were able to homeschool me like half of the year, and then come in.
We tried.
But we've been to Vegas ever since, and we're still performing.
Yeah.
Which is we still do shows, as you know, because you come out and drum the shows for us.
Yeah, now I come out and drum the shows.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I really became a drummer, is just watching all the cool drummers that you guys had. Dave being one of them.
You started drumming when you were a year old, my dear.
Yes, that is true.
You did.
Yeah. The spoons. You go into restaurants and start playing with spoons in restaurants.
I did. Or
the
annoyed everybody.
Straws, spoons,
things like that,
whatever.
And the thing about it is, I know that you got your your buddy Kyle and all the guys. I have to say that you guys from the very beginning played every weekend at our house.
That is true.
In the rehearsal room there, and went through $1 million worth of pop.
$1 million worth of soda, half drank soda, and we would throw it all away. Yeah, we were such spoiled little brats.
I mean, it really got there, and I go.
It was
I was telling Mom, I said, "What's wrong with these people? I mean, what's wrong with these kids? Why can't they do like other kids? Go out and do something."
I want people to think about this. God, I don't know how many 16-year-old kids are listening to this right now.
I'm sure.
But when I was 16, my parents allowed me to rehearse loud, heavy metal, screaming music
with
in their
language.
own house. Not a garage, not some storage unit far away. No, it was in their house. This was during the late 90s, during Limp Bizkit, Korn, where everything was fuck this and fuck you and everything. My parents were the coolest parents. They just let us rehearse this shit. And you know what? No one cared. Yeah. Which is insane.
Yeah.
No one cared.
We had one lady came up to the garage. "Oh, they really sound good. Do you think that they could tone down that their language?"
Can they not say the F word?
They couldn't say the F word. And I said,
because we have kids.
And I looked at her and I said, "Where's your kids tonight?"
So we know where our kids are. They might be saying the F word, but they're at our house, and we know where they're at.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it was
that only happened one time, and after that, it was fun. Our neighbors were pretty cool because
we didn't play that. I mean,
no, you didn't.
We were.
No, you guys were good.
Yeah.
And I also want you to know, because you don't remember this either, so I want you to understand that. Like I said, you were born in Tampa, Florida, where you were not supposed to be born. You were supposed to be born in Memphis. And so I rode back on a plane with you when you were 2 days old. Now, can you picture a 2-day-old baby on a plane?
They wouldn't allow that nowadays.
They can't tell you not to, but no. But I had no choice. I flew back home. And
you did well, though.
And there you were. And you didn't cry. You were wonderful. They gave you little wings. They pinned little wings on you.
Yeah.
But anyway, when we went back on the road, when you were 6 weeks old, we went back out on the road.
We did.
And I took your playpen, I had your bed, I had the little bumper things around your bed, your mobile, your walker, your changing table. Every hotel we went into, we carried all this stuff in because I wanted you to think you were in the same room everywhere you were.
That's actually pretty smart.
When you were a baby. Yeah. And it was every room, your bed was exactly the same, your mobile was the same, and the whole thing was the same. We did this and the guys in the band, now can you imagine? We had 8 people in our band. Who would put up with that? They loved you. You were like you had like 8 big brothers, they just loved you.
I do remember running around a lot. And
I would get babysitters everywhere we went.
Yep. I do remember,
which is crazy.
And
like my life story. It's just I think about it every night. I was like, God, how the hell did you pull it off?
I don't know.
Traveling to each city with a small child, and me relatively having a great time. I never had like a traumatic experience.
You didn't.
There was not one abusive babysitter. Not one moment where I saw something I shouldn't have.
No.
Although there was maybe that one time wasn't there a time where you fired a band member because he was doing drugs near me?
Oh yeah. that was
There's the story that I'm looking for.
That was in Atlantic City. Yeah.
You don't have to name him, but
we won't. But that was in Atlantic City.
There was a band member.
I had a strict policy: no drugs.
There were no drugs.
There were marijuana, none of that stuff. There was no drugs. Although I knew that musicians did it, but no, we had a very strict policy. I actually, I've dealt with a couple of entertainers, the hard way. I'm not musicians where we broke one of their arms and things like that. And, because the guy was, just being a jackass, I'm serious. I didn't put up with it one iota, I said, no, because you can't do a show. Let me just say this. If you're doing a show and you're on drugs, you're cheating the people. It's very simple. Because it's really not you. You're out there and you're high and you're acting goofy and you're doing this. I know there's a lot of great entertainers, you know.
I mean, there's Jimi Hendrix. I mean, it really depends on what style of music you're playing too.
Well, that was just my belief. It doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, but you're right though. It's like if your music is like during the '70s, where it's Jimi Hendrix, and that sort of style of music is dependent on that sort of
that loose
kind of environment where you need to be in that headspace, then okay, it's acceptable, I guess. But then if you're, let's say, Bruce Springsteen, and Bruce Springsteen comes out and he's on heroin and he's just like and he falls on the stage, you're cheating the people.
and it's also because a band is like a football team, you know I'm a football crazy person, but it's a team, and everybody's got to carry their part, and if somebody is over there and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, then everybody else is off. So it's not fair. So we just had a rule.
So that's totally understandable.
A group is only good. A band is only as good as their weakest link.
Right.
And that's why all the greats have great players, and they have it's like Alabama, for instance. They may not like each other. They may not go visit and have Sunday chicken at their house every whatever. But when they get on that stage, man, they're right on. Now, how you doing? Whatever, blah, blah, blah.
They hate each other.
But, from what I understand, they didn't like each other.
Because they're professionals.
Later on, maybe not so much in the earlier days, but, this thing. Money and fame and all that does a lot of crazy things to people. But I will say this. This is the thing, being an entertainer all these many, many, many years, and doing 2 to 3 shows a night, 6, 7 days a week, I can tell you, I didn't lip sync any of it. We sang.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether your throat was hurting or not, you were out there doing your thing. And today, the money they charge to go see somebody that lip sync in a concert, that is just wrong to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can tell when they're lip syncing. You don't have to.
Well, it's funny. Steven Tyler was actually on Joe Rogan's podcast not too long ago.
Oh, really?
And he said something very similar. He's like, back in the day, we sang. And if you wanted to be good, you trained to be good.
Yeah. Exactly.
There was no Logic, there was no Pro Tools. Pro Tools is the recording tools that you use to, and what you do, it's very simple. If you sing a wrong note, they can easily auto-tune your voice to make it sound, if you miss it just a little bit. But no, back in Steven Tyler's day, if you didn't hit the note, you didn't hit the note. Do the whole thing over again. Right. So back then you actually had to learn to be good and not rely on this technology to make you sound better than you actually are.
And what we did, because we were truly road musicians, we were on the road, 15 years, we played 6 nights a week, 6 hours a night. Think about that. When you were on the road, you do one show for an hour and a half, and then you were off. I'm sorry.
I worked really hard during that half an hour.
All right. Now, not only did we do that, we unload our own stuff. We would set up. It would take us 4 or 5 hours to set up the lights and the sound, and you do sound check, do all that, and then you pack all that stuff up back in the bus, and then drive for 20 hours to the next spot.
The equipment was heavy. It was big and heavy.
Yeah, it wasn't the small stuff back that we have now.
That was the true road life. But you know what? It was the best. We met the best people in the world. We had so much fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Right. So you're out there, man. You're lifting this thing called the Widowmaker. And then, but I'm telling you what, that stuff was heavy, and sometimes it took us 8 hours to set up. Take this for instance. We get done. We're playing in Wisconsin. Agent calls up and says, "I got a gig in Elko, Nevada. Can you be there by Tuesday?" No problem. Because you need a gig, so you need a show. So we did 2 shows. The band did get off at 12:30, try to tear down, try to get it done, load the bus out by 4:00 in the morning, off to Elko, Nevada, and coming across, and it's brutal, man. And I'm the only one who can drive the bus. Nobody else could drive the bus.
I remember this was this bus. What year was this bus?
1960.
1960.
It's a
This bus was
4104.
1960 Greyhound.
Yeah.
And I remember there was no auto drive. There was no autopilot in these cars. So what you guys did to circumvent that, I remember this vividly. You guys had a stick. You guys had a stick that you would push on the gas pedal and then just steer and prop it up. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I so remember this. I remember that.
Wait, do you remember that we had the little TV and the video?
The TV and the VCR.
Okay, and then your dad had we had that little 5-inch TV on the dashboard of the bus.
Yes.
That we hooked up so he could watch the movies too.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yes.
You guys watch me.
You
I
guys
watch
were
you.
high tech during those days.
We got pulled over by the highway patrol, and he came and said, "What is that?" I go, "That's a TV up there." And he goes, "I got to do that for my kids."
How did you figure that out?
How'd you figure that out? And I told him, he said, "Oh, I'll be careful. Goodbye." So
Yeah.
it was quite fun.
The other really fun thing, I know because you don't remember when you were like a baby, but you learned how to walk on the bus. That's why your balance is incredible.
Is it?
Because a toddler, you know how toddlers walk. But you were on the bus, and you'd be walking, and you never fell over. You just were so good. And then you learned to ride your little tricycle down the hallways of the hotels. And
I do remember that.
And,
I do remember that. I remember. Stevens Point Holiday Inn.
Yes.
Holiday Inn was the giant arcade they had down there. Back when arcades were a thing.
Yeah.
I
What
miss
else do you
arcades.
remember? Because I'm not sure that the stuff that
it all kind of blends together after a while because you guys did it so much,
Oh, yeah.
so it all
yeah.
kind of just blended together.
Yeah,
So now
we
I have
did.
flashbacks every now and then. I remember staying in the hotel room, learning the lesson plan in Florida again.
It was.
But I can't remember.
Plant City.
City.
Because you were making me so angry.
Well, you're trying to teach me math when we're essentially on vacation.
He thought he was on vacation. I'm trying to teach this child, and he's like, "No, Mom, that's not the way you do it." And it was Plant
I do remember
City.
that.
I remember that
And
vividly,
how
too.
how we got you up in the morning?
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I still have those tapes.
Mm-hmm.
We recorded. When VH came out. Beta came out way before that. But when the first year that they came out with the VHS recorder, I bought one, and I recorded every Ghostbusters that was on.
Oh my God.
And it was kind of funny because you basically learned when you got up, you turned it on yourself. You turned the recorder on. We'd put the tape in. But if you were sitting there sleeping and we couldn't get you up, we put that Ghostbusters on, boy. You'd wake.
I was up and ready to go.
Yep. You were.
Yeah, those are little things,
were.
and just tons of other things. It's
And-
like you said, there's so much stuff you can't.
And because of us being on the road,
Of course, I remember Watoma.
of course,
I remember Watoma. That was the first time I ever played Mortal Kombat, which is interesting.
That's in Wisconsin.
Because wow, it's just so funny to me when I think back, just all these separate places, and then when did I start doing the spotlight for the Elvis show?
Watoma.
Because there was a time where I actually inserted myself into the actual show.
Yeah,
which
you were
was I was 8 years old.
You were 8 years old, running the spotlight. We had to put him up on a stool so he could reach the spotlight.
And you guys coerced me to doing that.
Yes,
by
we did.
what did you pay me? $10?
I don't know.
Probably. I don't know.
I think it was $10.
I
I think it was
don't even know.
$10,
We
and I
paid
thought
you
that was
something.
so much money.
It was well
So-
before
For an
that.
8-year-old kid, it's a lot of money.
Before that, when he was 4, he used to go around in Watoma. He would go around to all of the people, and he wanted quarters to play the video games. So he would go around to people and say, "Would you like my autograph? I'm going to be famous someday. It'll cost
right,
you
I
a
did do
quarter."
that.
And people would just give him quarters just because.
Because I was a cute damn kid. You're like, oh,
He was so
hell,
cute.
I'll give him a
And
quarter.
you learned to bartend there too a little
Yeah,
bit. You were behind
you
there
bartended
bartending
in
for
Watoma.
quarters.
Oh
Do you remember
yeah,
that?
that's right. I do
so,
because you guys knew the owner of the
Yeah.
bar.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What was that? Oh, what was it called? It was
Peck's Plantation.
Peck's Plantation.
Yeah.
That's what
and
it was.
you got behind the bar. It was a Sunday night. It was slow. And he figured out how, we showed him how to pour a beer, a draft beer. You were 7, I think. And he was on
It was a different time, folks.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
And and he would serve the beer, and then people would give him quarters for tips, and he was like, I am loving this job.
This is what I'm doing.
Do this, man. This is great.
As soon as he had enough quarters, right down the bar, he went to go play the game.
I'm going on my break.
That's true. That's very true. You know,
I learned the importance of capitalism right there at 8 years old. Or 4 years old, however little.
Exactly.
And when we used to play in Put-in-Bay, you got to know the guy that ran the machines. And he would unlock it and give you
games.
He gave you games
I
for
remember
free.
That. I do remember that.
Yep.
And you always knew where he was.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was his name, honey? Chuck.
I don't remember his
Chuck.
name. You know,
I don't know what his name
there are
was.
just too many people.
But
a lot of water under the
he
bridge.
couldn't wait to see you. He loved you, and he go, where's Shane?
Yep.
So there's another story that doesn't involve music per se, but this is a story for people who like to drink.
Oh.
Okay. I want to say that my parents are very professional drinkers.
We are.
My mother takes the crown, however, because she has a great story. And that great story involves a college football player or some sort of big, huge guy.
Oh my God!
Who challenged you.
Oh, at Put-in-Bay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
He challenged you to a drinking contest.
Yes. And we had to we had to carry him into a cab. Oh, yeah.
Tell me the story, Mother. Tell everybody the great story of you destroying a 250-pound man.
He was so cute. He was a college football player as a bouncer when we played in Put-in-Bay, and it was his night off. And, well, I have to preface this with at Put-in-Bay where we
Speak a little closer.
Sorry.
There we go.
At Put-in-Bay.
There you go.
Okay. And we would be on stage, and people know that I like to drink, and so they would send up shots. And it was the kind of bar that they had all these crazy shots, like a Blue Moon of this and that, blah, blah. And I would drink anything. Oh, okay, blah, blah. Anyway, so that was the minute I walked on stage, there would be like 10 shots laying on the stage for me to drink, which I did. So this young man, and I wish I could think of his name, but he was so much fun. It was his night off. And we went to the sidebar, and he goes, I'm going to drink with Marcia tonight. And, I'm going to show her how to drink.
Little did he know the trap that he just laid for himself.
It took like 3 of us to carry him into a cab.
Oh, yeah, he was a big guy.
He was big, man. Oh my God.
All those bouncers were big.
They were like 6'5", 250. I don't know what he was. Yeah. Anyway, so he never lived that down, poor little guy.
Well, actually,
little Marcia drank him under the
years
table.
Later, after he left, because he ran a beer company, he always he had the beer route, when he came to Put-in-Bay, we happened to be there, he'd just go pick your mom up.
They would all pick me up. All those guys, they were huge. Every time they'd see me, they would pick me up and lift me in the air. And oh my God, it was so much fun.
A lot of good times.
That was fun. And I guess I shouldn't be bragging about my drinking, but that's okay.
No, that's fine.
You know what?
No,
well,
fine.
I don't know if
you're having fun. I say if you're having fun and not hurt anybody, who gives a shit?
And here's the scary, I'm not scary, but the amazing thing is that your father and I are still performing, which is crazy. After 40 some years, we are still
performing. You guys have your own. You guys have your own band out in Las Vegas called Deja Vu, and you guys do it every week.
And we still have 300 people that come every Wednesday to see us. Yeah. And now we started a new place there, and we got 500 people. Oh my God! I'm going. Are you kidding me? This
we broke the record for 525 people.
525 people.
There was another story.
Okay.
And then you can interject with any other great story
because there's so many. Okay.
I briefly remember, or vaguely remember, a story where Dad threw a guy into a wall.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, yeah.
People are going, boy, he's a real mean guy.
No.
No.
Oh, yes. I can tell you. Oh, my goodness. Yes. This was before we were married. Okay.
Because it's so funny. Because when people meet you, you're like, "Oh, he's so nice. He's such a nice guy."
So nice.
And then I'm like, and then my mom would tell me stories of you guys touring in the past, and like some guy crossed Dad the wrong way.
We were in was it Roanoke, Virginia? No, where was it?
Oh, Roanoke. Wow.
I think it might have been.
Of course, it's Roanoke.
I don't know. Anyway, we were. I'll get close for this because this is really scary. All right, we had just started dating. I mean, we weren't even married yet, and I'm I'm from Wisconsin. I've never been in a fight, never seen a fight. Have no idea, never. Like you're a very calm, peaceful person.
I am. Yes.
So am I. So it was the night before we were going to start playing, and we go into the bar, and the band is there, and Jerry Grothendieck.
Of course. How could we forget Jerry Grothendieck?
And Ronnie Seavey. I don't know if you remember Ronnie Seavey.
Yes, I do remember Ronnie Seavey. Yep.
And Ronnie Seavey. Okay.
And his children.
They're already in there drinking. Okay. We walk in. We haven't even had a drink yet. We walk into the bar. And here's Jerry and Ronnie and all of them. They've been drinking. And some guy, redneck over there, is giving Jerry a hard time. And they're calling him gay or whatever. Yeah. I don't know what.
Hey, boy. What's wrong with you, boy? So I sat down and I go, Jerry, don't be such a wuss, go over and kick his ass. He goes, no, I just kept on his drink. I said, and he's boy, hey, boy. He was just picking on Jerry. I don't know why. I really don't know why he was picking on him.
I don't know why.
He's just a drunk idiot.
And I kept saying, Jerry, you going to do something about this? And I said, if you say one more thing, I said, I'm going to come right over and I'm going to bash your head right in the wall.
Now, mind you, we haven't had a cocktail yet.
We
are like sober. We just walked in. Okay, go ahead.
He said one more word, and I got up and grabbed him and grabbed him by the shirt collar and by the joint. So boom, bust his head right in the wall. And then the fights break out, and
then Ronnie's got somebody, and
we hadn't started yet. It was just like.
See, this is the kind of stories that I never had when I was doing the touring. Everything was very calm and collected, and every band that we met were so nice, and there was not a moment where a drunk guy got too handsy with Anna, or some guy pushed another guy, and then a bar fight broke out, and people throwing chairs like a Roadhouse movie incident.
Well, you know why? Because things have changed.
An awful lot.
If that had happened today, your dad will be in jail. Okay,
that's true.
Back then, it wasn't that way. Like the owners of the club and the bouncers who were there saw that this guy was being an asshole, and he got what he deserved, and that was it. Out you go.
End of story.
End of story. And then that was it.
But I'll tell you a really cool story if you want to hear a cool story about that. Now, I don't want everybody to think, I don't want everybody to think, because when you have a lot of people on the road, you got to be tough. You got to run it you got to run it, But we had
This is the best.
Yeah,
Is this the Bob Froberg?
The
Bob Froberg story.
Bob Froberg.
Yes.
Okay, we got Jerry Grothendieck. We got Bob Froberg,
who was Terry Manring's. Rick Manring's brother-in-law.
And then put that together and play in Hancock, Wisconsin. You got you got something going there. But anyway, so.
Oh goodness gracious!
So we're playing in. Down in Savannah, Georgia, and Wilmington Island.
In a country club.
Wilmington
real Island
nice.
Country
Sheraton.
Club.
Had a nice country club.
Yes, beautiful.
And, anyway, they had girls, one on each side bring me in. We did the 2001 and the drums that roll, and stuff like that. Well, Bobby Froberg, he decided one night that he falls in love with a waitress. Well, waitresses are there to make money.
Yeah.
They're not there.
Well, tips. Plus, they had a rule. They told us before we got there that the band could not fraternize with any of the waitresses or any. So
makes sense.
So Bobby, of course, we're there for 4 weeks, by the way.
We were there for a long time, and so he decided he'd just stay at the bar and get drunk, and we had to do a show at 9:00, and
he was our drummer.
He's a drummer, and he's, I'm already in my jumpsuit. I'm ready to do the show, and he's still at the bar, because the girl says I don't want nothing to do with it, and he was being sorry for himself and all this other stuff, and so I don't think it was Marcia or somebody said go in there and you better get,
No. He came out to get.
What he did when he came out, he threw his glass up against the wall, because he was pissed, right? Because so here I am. I pull up in my car. I get out of the car. Now I'm in my jumpsuit and everything in the car. And I said, Bobby, you get your ass back at the hotel. You get your ass back on those drums. We got a show to do. He says, you just think you're so tough. If you weren't in that jumpsuit, I'd just kick your ass. And I just went, bam. And I hit him right in the eyeball and knocked him on his ass. And I tell you something else. I said, well, look down, and here's this guy. He had his 2 little girls bringing him into the show, and he went. He, swear to God, he bent down to him and says, "See, honey, just like in the Elvis movies."
Okay. So he knocks the guy out. We go inside. We're going to do an Elvis show. We have no drummer. And we walk in, and it was like, so Jerry.
Of course.
Jerry goes, unfortunately, our drummer has taken ill. And like those people who were out there all laughing, everybody's laughing because they saw this.
They knew exactly what was going on. They knew what happened.
And then, and so he goes, but you know what? The show must go on. So unless we have a drummer in the house, we're doing the show. We did an entire Elvis show without a drummer. Like, I was just clapping, and the audience was clapping. We got a standing ovation at the end of the night. It was like awesome.
No, that was
an entire
tough. You had to put on. I had to really work that show that. The next day, it wasn't really funny. It was the next day he comes up to me, and he's got this big welt on his eye, and he says,
"It's not funny."
He said, "I'm really sorry." He says, "I really needed that to put my, head back on straight, And he's supposed to be this big tough guy from,
Chicago.
But that's just one of many that that we had to deal with, and I didn't deal with people very well. But you just you do your thing. Well,
you're from the South.
Yeah.
If someone encroaches on you in an inappropriate way, there is a way to handle that situation, and that is, if we can't negotiate this problem, then it's going to come to fisticuffs, and after that point, the winner is respected and be like, okay. Yeah. I was obviously wrong.
And back in that day, that's what people did. And usually, even the person who got, like he came back and said, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. I was wrong." Yeah. And they were, there was no hard feelings or anything,
Just, you got your ass kicked and that was it.
But I was not used to that.
But, I'm sorry.
It freaked me out.
Now,
I thought this
happens in all bands, even your big bands. I'm sure it happened when Johnny Cash was on the road with all his entourage, getting drunk and fights. The stories that you really don't hear. Yeah. That really did exist. That actually happened. I can't imagine, them going through the country years without getting into some sort of.
Yeah.
Is this supposed to be like 20 minutes and we've been 5 hours?
I gotta make sure this is working. Hang on. Whoa.
Because we probably went way over your time. I'm sorry, honey.
Here, go pour some more, honey.
All right. And we won't even tell the story when Dad took Johnny by the throat. Had him dangling.
I'll figure this out.
Did we mess it up?
No, it was my fault. I should have extended the time period. But we do need to wrap up here.
No, we do. It was just.
It's been about 2 hours. So.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine.
We got like 40 years. Yeah. I mean, come on. It's hard to.
Well, I got the most important stuff. I think. I feel like I got the most important stuff.
But hey, I think most parents would.
Okay, I want to tell one more little story about Shane.
One more little story.
I promise.
We'll close on this.
It'll make it. Yeah, we'll close with this. Okay. And are we ready?
You're on. You're on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So my dad was a musician, and he was a trumpet player, played in 2 bands. And when Shane was a year old, no, 2. I'm sorry, he was 2 years old. We went to see my dad play with his jazz band. And my dad's on stage with his trumpet, and Shane is sitting with us at this table, and he's got the straws, and he's doing this. Well, one of my dad's drummer friends handed him drumsticks, and he started doing the drumsticks on the table. And this old drummer, he was like 80 years old, says, "Oh my God, that kid's going to be a drummer. He is so good." So he took him up onto the stage and gave him a chair, and he stood next to my dad, and he had his drumsticks, and he's playing the chair. And he's playing, and then every time he wanted it to be the cymbals, he'd hit the back of the chair. And he played, and it was the cutest thing ever. And I have pictures, but I don't have a video. I wish I did. Anyway, and then when the song was over, he would take both drumsticks in his hand and bow. And I couldn't
the showman I am.
And I could not get him off the stage. he stayed up there. And my dad was beaming. My dad, I think that was the proudest he's ever. His little cheeks, he was like so proud. And poor little Shaney, he played and played till he had blisters on his fingers because he played so hard with the drumsticks. But you didn't cry. You just went, I can't play anymore. You were the cutest thing.
There you go.
You and that whole picture of it was like this whole generational thing. There's my dad, there you are, and you were just, and it was like all this jazzy music. I mean, the whole, old 40s jazz stuff, and you're just playing away perfectly in time. An old drummer saying that you were going to be a great drummer, and you are. So,
well, thank you.
That's what I say.
Well, I think that's good. That's a good amount of time of 2 hours to condense 40 years worth. But next time you guys come, we'll do this again.
We'll do part 2.
We'll do part 2.
Hilarious.
We'll start talking about when I was starting to be coming into music and how you guys reacted to all that.
But would really be fun too is to get Uncle Jim.
Oh yes, I would love to get Uncle Jim in here.
But he can't really be candid.
Of course he can. You guys are candid.
I know.
But anyway, you turned out to be a pretty good kid. Obviously, you took from our side of the family.
That you guys know of. I was a pretty good kid.
No, you were a great kid.
The things that we know.
Well, at least I was good enough to hide the bad stuff from you. I was smart enough. I was smart enough to hide the bad stuff.
That's right.
You.
Yeah. That's okay. You do what you do.
All right.
Now you're married and you're responsible, an adult.
Yeah. I'm a responsible adult. I don't know how that happened, but it happened.
Really what sucks is you have to grow up and you have to become a responsible adult by buying a house and a car and having, this, that, and the other thing. And it's, there are a lot of times, I wish sometimes I could go back to being just nothing,
We're still kids. Everyone is still a kid at heart. Mm-hmm. Everyone is.
Well, you guys are the fun-in-laws, so.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool.
Well, I'd just like to say, my closing.
Here he goes. How many minutes do we have?
Thank you very much.
There you go.
That's perfect.
I do love you both so very much. I'm so blessed to have you as parents. Aww. You guys are the best. I'm having a great life because of you guys, because of you two. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being on this podcast, and that's it.
I love you too. You're making me cry. I love you.
Good night.
Good night, America.
Good night, America.